Hello, everyone, and welcome to my channel where I sit down with my friends and we talk about traveling, English, or how we build new life in the new country. This is my very first attempt to record something in English, and I'm glad that Kevin, who is one of my closest friends here in Toronto, agreed to chat with me. We talked about how it was growing up in Canada, why he loves teaching, and he shared some tips for those of you who would like to elevate their English. I hope you will like this episode just as much as I do. Enjoy! So, hello. Welcome to my podcast, Kevin.
Hi, how are you? Great to be
Uh,
here.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I would like to introduce my guest first. So, he's a Canadian born, best English teacher, and most importantly, my best friend here in Toronto. A person who loves traveling, tennis, basketball, great food, and a nice, not too cold weather. So,
Like
Kevin,
you summed that up very well.
So, Kevin, welcome. I really wanted to ask you to join my little podcast because I really wanted someone who was actually born here in Canada. So, of course, I the first thought was like, "Oh my God, Kevin, you need to come," and you just said yes. So, I'm just so grateful for today that we can chat and just talk about Canada. So, I would like to start with things like I would like to know, or if you would be so kind to just like introduce yourself to my listeners, who you are, where are you from, your parents' journey. If you can just, share a little bit.
Yep. Okay, so my name is Kevin and I was born here in Canada. My family comes from the Philippines and they came here to Canada in the early 1980s. And they actually got married here in Canada. So I would like to think that my parents are more so Canadian than they are Filipino. But I definitely take the Filipino culture with me as part of my identity, and I'm very appreciative of that. And growing up, I've always been someone who was very shy and very introverted. I didn't really like to socialize with people, or I found it very intimidating. And I grew up in school, I had really good grades. I was always that type who didn't really have that much confidence. Even my teachers who told me growing up that I needed to be more confident because I always knew the right answer, but I never wanted to raise my hand in the class because I was always doubtful of if I was going to be correct or not. So that's something that I worked through as I grew older, and I started growing my confidence by working in the community. And that's where I
Mhm.
started volunteering with many people who I lived with in the neighborhood and the community. And I opened up a little bit more and I helped other people. And even though I was a shy person, I always knew that I liked helping people because it really made me happy and it made me feel very fulfilled. And there was something really good about just making a difference in someone's life. And so, even though I actually studied at the University of Toronto in my undergraduate degree, my bachelor's degree, I specialized in business, but it was more so I didn't know what I was doing. So, that was the career path I chose initially. And when I first got my job in working for an office, I didn't really enjoy it. It wasn't something that I woke up every single day and I dreaded going to the office because I felt like I wasn't doing anything meaningful. And to be honest, it was very boring for me. And so I knew that I wanted to go back to the beginning and really find out what my passion was, which was working with people. And I've always wanted to be a teacher, but I never thought that I could actually do it. And at that time, I was working part time at Starbucks, and that really helped me really socialize and come out of my shell more. And I was able to meet a customer who told me to just go for my passion and go back to the idea of helping other people. And he just told me to go into something that I loved and something that I was good at. And what initially came to me was being a teacher. And I was in the library one day looking for jobs, just checking if there were any job postings. And then what I saw immediately that really caught my eye was an advertisement to be an ESL teacher, which is in English as a second language teacher. And from then
Yeah.
on, I quit my job without even 2 weeks' notice. I left the day and I left. I really got out of there and I went back to school. I used up all the money that I saved from working at Starbucks to start studying to become a teacher, and and I haven't really looked back ever since. So
Yeah.
this is where I
I
yeah.
I actually I already mentioned for the listeners that actually you are, my favorite teacher. And I pretty vividly remember our very first meeting, my very first day in school here in Toronto, where you walked into the classroom and you were like, you introduced yourself and you were like smiling. And my really, really first thought was like, oh my God, so young. Like you look like a baby, like such a young boy. And do you remember that day? I will never forget. Like I was like, what? He's a teacher? No.
Yeah, and I remember I spoke to you, and you didn't seem to be that
Old.
excited or in like you weren't sure of what is happening here. How is this gonna turn out? Yeah,
So you already told us when did you choose to be a teacher?
yeah. This was around
And
10 years ago,
yeah, and you actually said even why.
right?
But can you be like more specific? Like, what do you love about teaching?
Yeah, I like just seeing, to be honest, something as simple as seeing someone smile or knowing that I have impacted people's lives for the better. And a lot of times, most memorable students are when the students come back to you and they thank you that you were able to teach them something that was able to help them find a job, or they're becoming more successful now. And thanks to you that I was able to make it. So knowing that I was helping them in their journey and just to be even a little part of that journey is very fulfilling and rewarding. And that's not something that you can put a price tag on, right? Like I know in other jobs I could have become a business person and make a lot more money, but in terms of the satisfaction level that you get from that, there's nothing more satisfying than that. And like I said, like I like to think that I was pretty good, as you know, that I love correcting people's English.
Yes, I was just about to say that you were the only teacher who understood, all of us, because we imagine you come to this new country, you build something new, but there is nobody in the school who would actually correct your grammar, because you actually a teacher, you as a teacher, you are not allowed to correct my grammar. And I was like, that's the only reason why I'm here, because I need you to correct my grammar. So I remember all of us, we were just like praying, oh, we want Kevin, Kevin needs to be again the teacher. We were like praying to have you as a teacher, like that
Right.
was, you
And
were so popular, like everyone was trying to get you as a teacher.
yeah, different from when you first saw me that first day, thinking, oh no. Yeah. And so just to be able to help people, and again, something as simple as helping people with their grammar, it really is not so much about the grammar but more so the confidence. You don't have to have perfect grammar, but it's how you express yourself confidently to be able to get out there in the real world and really just be the best that you can be, to be an instrument in that, and to be someone who can help someone as part of their growing and journey in Canada is very meaningful for me.
But I actually, you know what, I'm still actually really nervous around you, because
Right.
you know everything about the grammar. So
Not necessary.
well, with you, I'm kind of like overthinking what I should say, what a fancy word should I choose, and then again, you will be like, no, Darina, you need to say it this way. And I'm like, oh, damn, I was just like thinking about this, how to, like express myself like more like fancier way.
Yeah.
And I'm always nervous when I'm around you, because I know you will know that it's incorrect. Or it should be, there is something that it doesn't sound good.
Yeah, I get that a lot. A lot of students who are afraid for me to observe their presentations, especially when I have already taught them previously. There's a lot of pressure for them to really apply or implement what I've taught them. So that there's that added pressure, even for my friends, knowing that I'm socializing with them. They always feel that deep down I'm judging the way they're speaking. And
And
it's
you do.
I do.
And you do because I know you. I know you do.
I do. I mean, that's part of me, who I am, but it doesn't really. I feel like before, when I was younger, I kind of used that to my advantage because let's if we're really getting deep here, I am insecure in many ways, right? I feel like we all are, and for me, being able to correct others kind of helped me get out of my insecurity or have that at least sense of power over certain people in that part of you know feeling confident. So I feel like it was my only way that I could feel confident within myself if I were to compare myself to other people. And so I've learned though, it doesn't really matter. I shouldn't be judging others because I too have my own weaknesses and flaws. It's all about helping each other and learning from each other. So
Okay.
that's
Now
definitely been shifted my perspective. I'm trying to be less judgmental of others because there's a lot of things that I can learn, right? So it's just knowing that you're always something that you can always improve and helping others. I think that's important.
And do you have any like suggestion or maybe a tip for someone who would like to, like switch for more fancier words? Do you have anything like you should
Well,
be doing
yeah,
this? It
I feel like we
helps.
should be observing and watching people who are good speakers. There's this common misconception that in order to speak better, you need to have larger vocabulary or speak a really complicated vocabulary. But for me, it's not necessarily how you speak. Sorry, that's not necessarily what words you choose, but more so how you express it. So for me, confidence is more important than a fancy or a long word. If you think of speakers like Barack Obama, he doesn't really use long, complicated vocabulary, long words, but he's able to attract people's attention by keeping people engaged. And that could be from the topic, the way your passion, the way you carry yourself when you're speaking, the way you make eye contact with people. So I like to say to people who really want to be more effective speakers are to look at the non-verbal cues
Mhm.
and not because that's more important. The tendency is to focus more on the language and the diction, but I think first you need to build your confidence through how you express yourself and you can do that by socializing a lot more with people. And if you're someone who feels afraid or shy to speak to other people, it's always good to talk about common interests. Like join a volunteer group, people who have share the same interests, or a sports club, just to get you getting used to socializing with other people. That it doesn't make you feel like you have to put in effort because you're already passionate about it, and that kind of starts boosting your confidence. And then
Mm.
once you get that, I would suggest looking at the way people speak, whether it be on YouTube, people who have given speeches. It's again just the way they connect with people, and you just have to be genuine. As long as I feel like your intentions are genuine and real, I feel like you don't really end up worrying about how you come across to other people. It is really a confidence issue, and if you're just trying to fake a conversation with someone just to sound impressive, then you kind of lose sight of what's the important purpose. So if you have a real purpose for engaging or socializing with someone, you don't even think about how you're coming across, and you just speak as naturally as you can. So that for me is the first step. And once you
Mhm.
get that confidence, then you can start building your vocabulary. And you can
Mm.
always build your vocabulary by reading. A lot of people who don't read, they tend to have a smaller vocabulary. And even if you're watching Netflix, you can put the subtitles on, and if whatever words you don't understand, you can look it up. And
Mhm.
I think it's important to read as much as possible because that's how you expose yourself to different types of vocabulary. And a lot of people don't like reading, which I understand. So just bringing it back to the socializing with people you have the same interests with, read something that interests you so it doesn't feel like you're forcing yourself to read. At least you'll feel like you're enjoying it. So it's really about enjoying it and finding what interests you.
So I'm not sure if you know, but I'm actually as well second generation Slovak. So
Mhm.
my mom's parents were Hungarian, my dad was born in Czech Republic, and my parents met in Slovakia, where I was born and raised. My typical summer after school was over. I was pretty much with my grandparents in Prague. So I have really nice memories from this time. And because Slovakia is such a small little country, just over 5 million people. It's pretty normal for people that they speak 3 5 languages. I wanted to ask Kevin, how do you communicate with your parents? Do you actually speak other languages?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. Well, my parents came here fairly young. They were only, I'd say, around 22 or 23 when they came to Canada. And so growing up, they spoke to me in English. They also spoke to me in Tagalog, which is the Filipino language. So growing up, they spoke to me in both languages, and I would always reply in English. So, just a fun fact, I didn't really want to be identify as a Filipino when I was younger. I just wanted to be strictly Canadian.
Why?
I was even embarrassed, sometimes even when they would pack me lunches, and
Oh,
yeah, to be honest with you, like, and then everyone had McDonald's or they had sandwiches, and then I had, my traditional food, and I would always be embarrassed to show that, or even to just bring up my culture because I was one of the few minorities in my school.
mm.
Either black, white, and so I was one of the few Asian, ethnicities there, and so everyone knew who I was because of that.
But that's cool. That's
It
actually
was
so
cool.
cool.
Well, obviously, looking back now, I find that very cool and very interesting. And as I've grown up, I've become more appreciative of my background, my ethnicity, and I've learned to embrace it a lot more. But back then, I just wanted to assimilate and be part of the majority. I wanted to just be called Canadian. And a lot of times people would see me down the street and they would assume that I was a certain ethnicity and they would speak to me in that language when I didn't even know what that language was. So
Oh my
I
goodness.
really experienced that growing up where I was kind
Mm,
of teased or bullied for looking a certain way that was not the,
mm.
you know, the the certain, like everyone else looked the same except for me. So but now, as I grow up and I look back on it, I'm very appreciative of my diverse culture, and I actually like to educate people more about that. But living in Canada now, obviously, it's as you know, it's very multicultural. So I feel that I've matured and come a long way in terms of that. But yeah, I've learned even to try to understand or speak Filipino or Tagalog, and I can speak it if I really need to speak it. Other than
Mhm.
that, I just speak English to my parents.
And what about when you travel? Let's say you
Yeah,
go somewhere where
yeah.
they speak, I don't know, Spanish.
Oh yeah, yeah,
I don't know, Miami,
yeah. Yes, I'm always
So,
in Miami.
okay, so
Teacher
tell me
life.
about
Yeah,
that. Like, I want to see, like, if you ever struggled as an English teacher to
yeah.
actually
So
have that
let's
conversation with
yeah,
someone who doesn't
yeah,
speak English,
yeah. That's true. It's Let's just say that me being an English teacher and then going to a place where a lot of people don't speak English, you have to learn. For example, in Miami, they speak Spanish. You don't even need it to know English in Miami because a lot of immigrants came from Cuba and migrated to Miami, and so they speak. A lot of the Uber drivers, for example, they don't even speak English. So um, it's very humbling experience to be on the other side where you don't know the specific language that well. And so I've struggled and I'm very shy to speak, or I feel like I'm not speaking properly or I'm being judged because my Spanish isn't that good. And so I guess it's really helped me become more empathetic or more understanding of my students who I've judged. And so when I go to Miami, I have broken Spanish, but I've learned. I took Spanish in university for a year, so it's a lot more difficult to speak for me than to write. As you know, I don't know if you know, maybe, but in the Philippines, we were colonized by Spain, so we have a lot of similar words from Spanish. So for me, in terms
Okay.
of pronunciation, it's not that difficult, but obviously speaking a different language still completely it's difficult. So I've definitely practiced that when I've traveled. I've also speak French, taking it for 15 years from
Yeah, that's what
elementary
I was hoping you will, share.
elementary school all the way up to university. So I learned how to speak French. I actually haven't been enough to Montreal or Quebec to actually apply it, but again, my grammar was always pretty good. I got the French award. I've never told you this, but I got a French award in high school. I got the highest grade in French.
Good boy.
My grammar was really good, but my speaking was very poor because I didn't actually have to use it. I mean, the best way to learn a language is to immerse yourself in that environment, and I haven't
Mm.
had the opportunity. But as you know, you coming from Slovakia and coming to Canada, it's really done wonders for your improvement in English.
You think so?
Yeah, I definitely think you're a lot more. I think the biggest difference, I'm not going to say you're perfect because I would be lying.
I'm not. Of course, I'm not. And I never will be. No, I never will be.
And
My accent is horrible,
that's
and I
important.
heard.
And we're not really there to be perfect, right? It's more about the confidence. And I'd say that from 2017 to now, 6 years later, that you're a lot more confident in your interactions with people. And yes, you make the common grammar mistakes, but again, that's part of it. I think the confidence has grown, and not feeling embarrassed or very cautious about how or conscious about how you speak in front of other people. For me, that's really not the most important thing. It's more so how are you able to communicate? How are you able to show and engage your energy with others in a conversation professionally and casually? So I found that you've definitely improved in that sense. And you're always willing to improve, which is also important.
I just really want to have a English speaking boyfriend, that I can actually speak 24/7. That's, I think,
Is that
that would be the best
are
thing.
we getting into that topic?
No. But we share same passion for traveling and food, right? And of
Yeah.
course, tennis. So I will
Right.
never forget how you were surprised that I was in a serious relationship with a tennis player.
Tennis
But
player,
let's talk about the
which you
travel.
still which you still have not told me who it was.
Yeah, it's
And I'm sure
unimportant.
the listeners here on your podcast are curious to know who it is.
No, no. No, I don't think anyone is interested to know, but I think it would be funny to hear how you pronounce the names. Be so kind to say like maybe five names,
Sure.
either Czech or Slovak.
Can
You
you
can
give
choose.
me? Are you gonna give me the original way to
No, no,
say
no,
it? You're gonna make
no.
me
I
struggle and
thought that would be too easy, so I want you to say the name and then I will
so
correct.
you're trying to make me sound like a fool so you can get your revenge in
Yes,
front of
love.
all
Yep.
of your listeners. Wow. Okay. Let's just say, okay, so do you remember the first person I asked since when I found out back in 2017 when I entered that classroom and you told me that you were from Slovakia? I asked you, do you know this tennis player? Do you remember who I
Hrbati? I think it was Hrbati, but I'm not
no,
sure.
it was not. It was Daniela.
Oh, so say it. Say
No,
it.
so let me just say how we say it in English. So this is an Americanized way of saying a Slovak name. So her name pronounced in English is Daniela Hantukova.
Daniela Hantuchova.
Yeah, so Daniela Hantukova.
Hova.
So a lot of times we would say Daniela Hantukova or Daniela Hantukova, which is obviously not right.
But the worst version was Hantuchova.
Hantukova, okay. I'm not that bad.
Okay, give me another one.
Petra Kvitova, which is again super Americanized.
You mean Kvitova? But oh,
Kvitova, Kvitova. Okay.
Kvitova.
I
Okay.
know you always told me not to put so much stress on the syllable
Yeah,
because
because you do have a good, you have really good accent. You just tried so hard, and
well,
you need
like
to
yeah,
soften
Americans
your
they always want to stress at least one syllable, like Kvitova, but it's should be
Kvitova. And
Petra
that's actually
Kvitova.
my issue because for example, the word podcast. I want to
Yeah,
put the D because in
right.
Slovak is podcast.
Right. They're
Like,
both they're equal in stress, I would say.
yeah.
Whereas in English, it's only the stress is on pod, so it's like podcast.
Okay, give me some male name. Come on.
Male names, Dominic Urbati,
Dominic Herbati,
Thomas Burdick or Thomas Burdick. I think that's
Tomasz,
Tomasz Tomasz
Tomasz Berdych.
Tomasz Burdick.
Good. And
Okay.
one more.
Uh,
One more.
one more. I'm trying to think. There's not many.
Number
Oh, wait,
one.
1 second. Oh, yes, yes, yes. The one that's I forgot. Oh my gosh, what's the name? The husband of Nicole. I forgot his
Oh, Stepanek.
Stepanik. Radek Stepanik.
Rodek. Rodek.
Rad,
Radek.
Radek Stepanik.
Okay, that was not bad, but
Not bad, right?
that was actually not that bad. Can you think of actually now, like I will give you now the chance to give me some kind of words that you know that we non-native speakers, like, we say the wrong way. Like what is the most common words? Maybe you can think of something.
Oh, comfortable.
Okay, comfortable.
A lot
That's
of people
fine.
say comfortable, or because as you know, in English, the way it looks is completely different from the way it sounds, right?
Anything else?
Interesting. Some people will say interesting. Like again, it's not wrong to say interesting, but a lot of our natural sounds or words have been abbreviated. Interesting, comfortable, right?
Anything else?
Is there any word that comes to mind when you think of something that you struggle with? 'Cause there's so many words I can't really.
Well, I struggle with all of them. I
Yeah,
hate the word
yeah,
literally. I cannot say it.
literally.
Literally.
Well, I mean, it's tended. A lot of people have a tendency to overuse that word, so I don't
Literally.
suggest using literally. They literally literally use it like literally every day. And
Kevin, I would like to mention your Instagram because I
yeah,
do know you have a nice account. Would you mind to share with
yeah,
those who
it's
might try to learn English so where they can
exactly.
find you?
Yeah, so the handle is at Kevin Cito, KevinCito dot ESL. So that's at Kevin Cito dot ESL. And Kevin Cito is a nickname that I was given to by my students, and it means small or little Kevin.
So my last question on my podcast is always about the country where you live, and it's just like I always wonder if you are happy here, if
Mhm.
you think like think of like maybe moving to a different destination or city or country. So I just wondering if you would like to stay here, or you kind of thinking that you might maybe one day retire somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, as as of right now, it's not really my plan. I'm still trying to really find and establish myself here in Canada. But who knows? You never know if I'm gonna travel one day. As you know, being a teacher, there are many opportunities to teach around the world. And as you know, as you mentioned earlier, I like love traveling. So who knows? I've always loved going to Japan, and I really wanted to teach there. Um, but in terms of Canada, I really want to maybe start my own business or my school one day. I really want to combine my experience in business and customer service and combine that with education. So for me, that's something that is my long term goal. But if that means going out of the country and continuing my teaching career in another part of the world, then I'm open to it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Would you suggest others to actually move here, or you?
Yeah, I
What?
mean, yeah, I'm not going to, sugarcoat. Do you know what the word sugarcoat means?
I do, of
I'm
course.
not gonna sugarcoat it and saying that it's amazing. You all should come here. It's great.
It's
Um,
hard.
again,
It's
it
really,
is.
really hard.
I feel like anywhere it's hard, but I feel like if you have the purpose and you have the desire and the passion, and nothing is stopping you from doing it, then why not? Um, it takes a lot of hard work, and there will be days where you'll be doing jobs that you don't want to do, or you'll start off, as you know very well, you come to Canada, you may start off doing a job you don't want to do. And it's something that's very repetitive and not
Boring.
boring or not meaningful. But just know that everything that you're doing once you get here is helping you just try to enjoy every moment and see what you're learning as you go along. Don't take any moment for granted, because you're definitely going to be building those skills that you need to be successful. And one good example of that is you. Like, you started maybe perhaps not working in a job that you liked, but you were able to build your network, you were able to build your confidence, the way you spoke, and go towards more that of what you wanted to do in your area. So again, like I said, it's not easy, but the more you push for it, the more motivated you are. And there are days where you'll not want to wake up and do anything, which is normal, but you just know that you're just building yourself
Something
for
new.
something more,
Yeah.
yeah, something meaningful. So I definitely recommend coming to Canada because you also get to be exposed to many cultures, and not everybody can say that. And you learn to be more open-minded. You learn to be more knowledgeable about other people, and so that could be beneficial for you if you decide to leave Canada and work somewhere else in the world. You already have that advantage, having experienced life here in Canada. So definitely,
That was really nice. Thank
yeah.
you. Kevin, thank you so much for being a guest on
Thanks
my
for having
podcast.
me.
You have no idea how much this means to me. I needed to record, English version that I can actually ask others to join me. And everyone is asking me, but I don't know what you mean. And I'm like, okay, I have Kevin. Kevin will do the first episode with me, and then it's much easier to invite others. So that was a big, big deal for me. So thank you so, so, so much for joining me today. It was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
And of course, I would like to thank you for taking the time to listen to this episode. Please join us on my official Instagram account, Don't Ask Tell, where I share the best of all my episodes. And I share my travel videos and my daily life in Toronto. So don't forget to join us. Thank you for your time and your support. Don't forget to like, share, or follow. Have a wonderful rest of the day.